Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unlock the ultimate playbook for workplace communication and networking. We're pulling straight from Dale Carnegie's timeless research here. Look, whether you're walking into a high-stakes job interview, trying to close a massive sales deal, or, just wanting to build deeper, more meaningful friendships, the principles we're going to look at today are an absolute game changer. Think of this as your personal social skills coaching session. We're taking these classic insights and applying them directly to our modern life. Now, let's look at the hard data behind why we're even talking about this. Get this. A fascinating study backed by the Carnegie Foundation uncovered a stunning fact about professional success. It turns out that even in highly technical fields like engineering, a massive 85% of your financial success comes down to your personality and your ability to lead people. Crazy, right? Only 15% is due to your actual technical knowledge. Basically, your ability to connect, empathize, and communicate. That is literally the most valuable professional asset you can possibly own. To get you there, we're breaking this explainer down into 5 actionable pillars: the human engineering secret, 6 ways to connect, winning people over tactfully, changing minds without offense, and finally, the ultimate golden rule. All right, pillar number 1, the human engineering secret, and why people skills actually matter. Let's look at how mastering these concepts can completely transform your career and your day-to-day interactions. To really understand the stakes here, consider this real example from the source material. There was this employer who had a workforce of 314 people. For years, he drove them incredibly hard, criticized them constantly, and honestly just created a deeply hostile workplace. But after applying the exact principles we're covering today, he radically altered his approach. He swapped out the criticism for encouragement and genuine appreciation. And the result? No way around it. It was magical. Those 314 enemies were transformed into loyal friends. His business found new loyalty, teamwork just skyrocketed, and get this, his employees actually started calling him by his first name. That's the sheer power of human engineering. Moving right along to section 2, 6 ways to connect and building your foundation. The crucial point here is figuring out exactly how to make people genuinely like you right from the start of any interaction. Carnegie lays out these 6 golden rules for connection. And honestly, they serve as a perfect mental checklist for your next interview or networking event. Ready? Be genuinely interested in others. Smile, remember their name, be a good listener, talk in terms of their interests, and make them feel important sincerely. It sounds incredibly simple, doesn't it? Yet we forget to do these things all the time when we're caught up in our own stress and, our own agendas. You can really summarize the immense power of listening with this fantastic quote from the text: "To be interesting, be interested." It's such a great reminder that encouraging others to talk about themselves is far more magnetic than complaining about your own problems. Actually, the source material points out this funny but true reality. The person you're talking to is 100 times more interested in their own toothache than they are in a massive famine that kills 1 million people in another country. Kind of dark, but remembering that completely shifts how you hold a conversation. Take former U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, for example. He knew that one of the simplest, most obvious ways of gaining goodwill was taking the time to remember the names of everyone he met. And I literally mean everyone. There's this great story of FDR taking a mechanic down to the White House. When he arrived, Roosevelt didn't just, ignore him like most people might. He introduced him, learned his name, shook his hand, and thanked him sincerely for his work. He made a shy, background worker feel completely seen and respected. Let's lock in this specific rule right here, because a person's name is the sweetest and most important sound in any language to them. Think about it. When you remember someone's name, especially after only meeting them briefly, you're paying them a highly effective, subtle compliment. Remembering a name proves you value that person, which makes it an absolutely crucial tool for sales, leadership, and just everyday friendships. Now, it's pretty easy to connect when things go perfectly, right? Everyone's smiling, the conversation is flowing. But I want to ask you, what happens when you completely disagree with someone? How do you handle those inevitable disagreements without burning bridges? Like, how do you actually manage a frustrating client or a really stubborn coworker? That brings us to section 3, winning people over tactfully, or the art of disagreement. Let's dive into how to influence others without sparking a massive defensive argument. Because look, the moment you tell someone they're flat out wrong, you've lost them. Their ego is bruised. Consider this real lumber dispute from the text. A company was having a huge issue with an inspector who kept rejecting entire carloads of lumber. Now, the wrong way to handle this would be to march down there, point to the rule book, and loudly tell the inspector he's making a mistake.
Instead, the company rep used the right way. He went down and just started asking friendly, cooperative questions about why certain pieces were unsatisfactory. He didn't even insinuate the inspector was wrong. He just positioned it as wanting to understand so they could provide exactly what was needed. By warming up the relationship and asking questions, the tension just melted away. The inspector eventually admitted his own lack of experience with that specific pine, reversed his decision, and saved the company $150, all through pure tact.
Using this exact phrasing, admitting you might be wrong upfront, works like absolute positive magic to disarm defensive people. If you start a disagreement by saying, "I may be wrong, I frequently am. Let's examine the facts," you instantly strip away any reason for the other person to be combative. You're modeling humility, and it just naturally invites them to be fair-minded and open right back at you. It's a real game changer. Let's move to Section 4, changing minds without offense and leading with empathy. We're going to see how this builds into actionable leadership skills when you actually need to change someone's behavior. Okay, so if you have to deliver criticism or correct a team member, never start with the negative. Instead, use this two-step approach to humble yourself and cushion the feedback. Step 1. Always begin with sincere praise and honest appreciation. Get them in a positive frame of mind. Step 2. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing them. By admitting that you're far from perfect yourself, you make it significantly easier for the other person to swallow their own faults without feeling attacked. The story of Mr. Ga perfectly demonstrates this in the business world. He desperately needed a favor from a busy factory president to finish a building project on time. But instead of walking in and demanding priority, Mr. Goss secured this crucial favor simply by taking a genuine, appreciative tour of the factory first. He complimented the president on his spotlessly clean facility and the unique machines he'd invented. He made the president feel incredibly proud. And get this, by the time they sat down to talk business, the factory president actually offered the exact favor Mr. Ga needed without Ga even having to ask for it. That is the power of leading with appreciation rather than your own demands. Which brings us to Section 5, the ultimate golden rule and making people feel important. The crucial point underlying all of these strategies brings us to our final and most profound pillar of the playbook. As noted in the source material, the absolute deepest urge we have as humans is the craving to be appreciated. Not just a wish or a passing desire, but a genuine non-craving. This means sincere validation is the ultimate key to all human relations. When you can satisfy that hunger in the people around you, your family, your coworkers, your clients, you're going to hold incredible influence and build unshakable loyalty. Carnegie points out that philosophers have spent thousands of years studying human relationships, from Confucius to Buddha to Jesus. And it all boils down to the timeless golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Look, you want recognition of your true worth, right? You want to feel important in your little world. You hate cheap, insincere flattery, but you absolutely crave genuine appreciation. Well, so does everyone else. If we want that from others, we have to be willing to give it out freely ourselves. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a challenge for your very next social interaction. Who in your life can you genuinely appreciate today to start the magic working? Maybe it's a barista whose name you can finally learn, a stubborn coworker you can ask for advice instead of arguing with, or just a family member who really needs a sincere compliment. Take these tools, test them out, and watch how quickly your world transforms.